what I thought
Where?
I'd read is
Where they at?
why, according to the Bible, whether you believe in the Bible or not, that's another issue. Why, according to the Bible, you don't believe. And it's found in Romans chapter 1, which says, Paul begins writing in verse 16, I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek, and also to the Gentile. Therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. Verse 18, for the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold or resist the truth in unrighteousness. So this is the picture that St. Paul is drawing here, that basically all men are without excuse and they resist the truth. They know the truth, but they are willfully resisting the truth, which makes God angry. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. So Paul is saying that God has showed himself unto all men. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. You know, one of the most frequent questions I get on campus is, well, what about people who never had the opportunity to hear of Jesus, people who have never been exposed to Christianity? Well, Paul is really addressing this question in Romans chapter 1 and concluding all men are without excuse because he's revealed himself through his creation. And creation testifies to a creator. Design implies a designer, and so on. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imagination, and their foolish heart was darkened. So again, he's saying that all men really know the light, really understand, but they become vain in their imagination, and their foolish heart is darkened. Of course, the psalmist David said, the fool that said in his heart that there is no God. Professing themselves to be wise, they become fools, and change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Men have a tendency to worship something. They don't worship the true God. They just end up worshiping themselves, which is, or worshiping man, counting the ultimate worth to man, which is essentially the humanism, knowledge that is man-centered, centered in God. And change the glory of God into a, well, I read that verse, verse 24, wherefore God also, because of this, God gave them up to uncleanness, through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. So there's the tendency to worship man, to worship the creation, instead of the Creator. We appreciate the artist more than we appreciate the work of art. We don't worship the work of art or count so much work to the work of art as we do to the artist. We don't give the glory to the building, but to the architect, the builder. And for this cause, then, God gave them up to vile affections, for even their women, to change the natural use into that which is against nature. And Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burn in their lust one to another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. In other words, they get what they deserve. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge. So again, Paul is affirming men naturally have God in their knowledge, but they don't like to retain God in their knowledge, because the God that's revealed in nature is a loving God. And the God, of course, revealed in the Bible is a self-sacrificing God who gives the Son. But they don't like to retain God in their knowledge, because if all of that is true, then we're obligated to live a life that is centered in God, a life of self-sacrifice and self-denial. And most men are determined to live a life of self-indulgence. So God gave them over to a reprobate mind to those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, and unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Now, Paul goes on in Romans 2, expanding on why men are without excuse, because not only has God revealed himself in nature through the creation, but all God has revealed himself through our conscience. We all have an intuitive knowledge of right and wrong, good and evil. So I believe the point that Paul is making, that men are willfully ignorant of God. We don't want to believe, because believing requires a radical change to turn from a self-centered to a God-centered life. Some people come in late, I want you to go ahead and eat. I wanted to get that out there. You want to discuss it amongst yourselves. Anything you want to bring up about me or anybody else here, Burl, of course. Craig here, some of you met last year. Craig's going to a seminary. He's a seminary student in St. Louis. And, you all know Dr. Acuff. He preaches on the circle every Monday, just about. He's a physician at the University Hospital. So, if you have any questions or comments about that?
Brother Jed, I ask my patients a question to kind of see where they're at in their thinking about their situation that they're in. And I don't just ask them the first time I meet them, but once I've developed a relationship, I'll ask them this question. Do you believe that you deserve what happened to you? I ask them this question.
Tell them what you do.
Yeah. I'm a physician. My specialty is rehabilitation, physical medicine, rehabilitation. My subspecialty is spinal cord injury medicine. And so I am prescribing treatments and the leader of the team that provides rehabilitation for individuals with severe traumatic injuries or medical diseases. And so I asked him the question, do you believe what happened to you that you deserve it? And that really helps me better understand the person's attitude about their condition, as well as the potential for healing and recovery, not just physical, but the emotional really change that occurs after a person is faced with a serious physical debilitating situation. And I've had patients say, yeah, that's my own fault. I got drunk and I got into that car. Or, yes, I deserve that. And I've had some patients say, no, I don't deserve it. No one deserves this. This guy was the one who was stealing the gun from the policeman, and he got shot in the act of his crime. And he didn't believe that he deserved that with the situation.
It's a wonderful life.
But it comes back to myself, and I ask the question to myself.
Like,
When bad things happen to me,
so the stage is going to set like
Do I believe
19
in
words
God?
radio station, and you just get
that's
up.
Muslims, there's patients of mine that are Muslims or other
But
faiths.
I've seen it before.
And when I ask myself that question, I have to say, oh, I do. I believe that I deserve, when bad things happen to me, because God is perfect, and I'm not. And, you can look back and make mistakes. Actually, God would be just and killed me last night in my sleep.